I I've struggled with an idea for a while, and it's how like everybody. This sounds so dumb. Just hold on. Give me a second. But it is crazy that everybody is a person. What I mean by that is when you're like a little kid and you just living your life, you know, you go to school and then you go home and then sometimes you play with your friends and sometimes you stay in and you watch cartoons. You know that you have a life. You know that you're a whole person, even if you don't have a full awareness of yourself. You know that you go to different places and you do different things. Even when you have a new experience, it doesn't even occur to you to be like, oh no, I don't do that. Because you're a kid just experiencing the world. But there are boxes that we put people in. I think it's completely unintentional. I don't think there's any malice behind it. But I remember the first time that I realized that someone who I definitely cared about and I definitely enjoyed their company and I definitely liked was a whole other person. I was a little kid. I was with my mom at the grocery store and we saw my teacher. And I was shocked. I was like, I said it out loud. I said it to her. Why aren't you at school? If you're here, then whose? It was a crazy thing in my head. My brain was breaking in that moment. I'm this little kid. I've only ever seen her at school. She's supposed to be at school. I shouldn't see her if I'm not at school. And she's over here buying groceries. I was like, you eat groceries? This is wild. And then she was over here having a conversation with my mom. They both ignored me asking why she wasn't at school. I still had questions. And then she, said she'd see us on Monday and walked away. And in my head, I was like, Monday? It's Saturday. She's not even going to be at school tomorrow. Blew my mind that one of my favorite teachers had like a house. And like, I'd always heard about her husband, but I thought that's just something teachers say to like pass the time and stuff. She had a whole life. And it feels like a silly lesson to learn when you're a kid, and then you get older and you realize you have to keep relearning it over and over again because you meet more and more people and you've already boxed them in. And then they surprise you. And then you think, oh, I'm a little ashamed I was even surprised. I should know from when I was like 6 that people are like, everybody's a person. But it's an easy lesson to forget because you can only sometimes see a person in a certain way. Like my friend, I have a couple friends now who they've got drunk with their parents, and it's a boundary that some people never break with their parents. Sometimes their parents are like, oh, I'm gonna have a couple drinks, but I'm not gonna be drunk in front of my son. You know what I mean? And then there are people who will always have that thing of like, oh, I don't want to be drunk in front of my parent. You know what I mean? It's like weird. I feel like I'd be in trouble. It's like, well, you're 42. Yeah, but still. I don't know. I don't want my mom to see me drunk. And it's like, well, she saw you at your worst as a baby. I guarantee you drunk just brings you like one step above baby. But it was an interesting thing. My friend said that he got had a couple drinks with his dad. Now his dad was a sort of interesting case because when he was a kid, I don't know all the details, but his dad drank. And then there was something, whether it was something that happened or just like a general attitude towards drinking. At one point, his dad was like, you know what? I'm just not going to drink anymore. And he went like cold turkey sober for years and years and years, right? So he drank pretty heavily when my buddy was a kid, didn't drink until he was long out of the house. And it wasn't until after my buddy graduated college that his dad would like drink once in a while, you know, have a drink with him. And finally one day his dad was like drunk with him. And he noticed his dad like drunk. And he was like, it's crazy because I know my dad used to drink and I can only see my dad as my dad. So knowing my dad is like an annoying drunk. I don't know. I guess I forgot he could be a whole person. Like, because his dad had this weird, like, rivalry with him when he was drunk. He, you know, walk up to him, impromptu, off of nothing. They're in the backyard. And he's like, hey. You know, looking good, young man, looking strong, looking tough. I mean, you looking real strong. You know, what? You think you're stronger than me? What? I mean, no. Do you think you're stronger than me? We should race. You want to race? And he knows that a foot race with his dad sober wouldn't even be a contest. So he's like, nah, Dad, I'm good. He's like, no, come on. You know, if you're scared, say so. If you're scared, say so. If you're scared, the old man still got it. If you're scared, say so. Said he made it into one of the most annoying songs he had ever heard in his life. Just until he would raise him, if you're scared, say so. And finally, he's like, all right, look, we'll race, fine. And he thinks if he stands up, his dad might just forget, you know, because he's at that level of drunk where he's on a mission, but not a mission he has to complete. Y'all know that mission. This one of my favorite missions to watch people have on like a night out. You know, especially with like, but one of my favorite side quests in any night out that a bunch of ladies are having is finding one of their phones. One phone will go missing and it will be the biggest deal in the world for 12 minutes. And then the person whose phone is missing will be like, let's just dance. It's like, all right, but you should go get your phone though. Like, you do need to call an Uber at some point and get home. Like, we need your phone. It's like, yeah, but like later, like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't even care. It's like, this is my song. And then it resets because then like several songs later, it'll be like, yeah, you look so good. I'm gonna take a picture of you. Oh my God, everybody stop. Not their friends, everybody in the club stop. Everybody stop. And so this dude stands up thinking like his dad's about to be over it anyway. And he's like, Dad, I really don't want to, like, we're having a good time. Like, let's just chill out. And his dad goes, no, race me. And he's like, all right, fine, okay. So they line up. He's not really gonna race his dad. He's gonna like walk and let his dad win so he can feel good about being annoying for 15 minutes. But his dad stands up and he's ready. You ever see somebody look at a finish line like it's moving? Like, and then he said, said, all right, you ready? And they had already decided that his mom would say when to go. And so she said, go. And my buddy didn't even go. His dad took 3 steps and crashed into the patio table. I don't know, yeah, it's gotta be tough. That's a moment that's like, you just know that now. You know your dad your whole life, and then now you're like, oh yeah, but like after the 5th Jameson, he will. You know. And that changes how you look at your dad a little bit, not even in the form of judgment, just like there's more information and you see him as like a whole person. You know good, you know bad, you know arguing with him, you know, and now you know this thing that you didn't really experience in the same way when you were a kid. Now you know, even 4 Jamesons in, he's gonna go, no. Oh, like I don't know if it's possible to remind yourself every time, every day, that a person is like a whole person. Because we are like so distant. Person to person. Like when you meet someone that you've maybe heard about, you can only go off your impression. That impression is colored by whoever told you about this person. And it's hard to remember. I try to remind myself all the time that like, we're meeting this person. Nothing nice has been said. But I'm sure they have a dog. I don't know. Like some redeeming quality. You try to approach it like that. And, you know, I fail at it a lot. You know, sometimes I let, whether it's gossip or just like a preconceived notion, take over. And then you end up being friends with this person. And you feel even worse because you're like, oh, I judged you so harshly when we met. You know, some of my best friends, when I met them, hated their guts. I hated because I was just like, oh, just look at his face. One of my best friends from college, when we met, us meeting was me asking him for a pencil. And him going, what? And so I just turned back around. I was like, all right, jerk. Turns out he just didn't hear me. We're like really good friends now, but yeah, that was not a great way to start. One of my best friends, we had that same thing. So he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5", like a strong guy, wide guy, right? Big dude. And we were both friends with a different guy. This is freshman year of college. And we had both done things in front of each other that made us go like, I don't know if I like that guy. Like I like our mutual friend, but I don't know if I like him. And then we kept being in scenarios where maybe we were waiting for our mutual friend, so we were left alone with each other. And in my head, maybe it's because of where I come from, and maybe it's because I've never been the biggest guy in the room, but this is a big old dude, and he doesn't seem like he liked me. So in my head, I was like, I just gotta act crazy. Like if I'm crazy, that'll keep at bay his size. Because even a big man doesn't want to get bit. You know what I mean? I don't care how big or strong you are. Once everybody saw what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield, they were like, oh yeah, crazy wins. Crazy will always win. I like my whole ear where it is. And then he noticed me being crazy. And so he was like, all right, I'm gonna have to flex how big I am. There was one time where we were waiting on our mutual friend, because forgot to mention earlier, our mutual friend was his roommate. So I had to be in their room a bunch before we actually got along. And I don't know, I saw him like eyeing me, and this is a college dorm room. So there's not a lot of space. So I'm like, this big guy's eyeing me. We're both waiting for our friend. So then I didn't know what to do. So I just started singing lyrics to Kanye West's 808 on a Heartbreak. No music. Impromptu. And lyrics I chose were, when I grab your neck, I touch your soul. And I just sang it to the wall, but loud enough for him to hear me. And I would later find out that when I did that, he was like, all right, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. In my entire life, I was trying to mug this dude into submission, but now he sang to the wall, not even facing anything. I don't know what he talking about. Why'd he sing it too? That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. It's so much crazier to sing than it is to scream. Like if you come across somebody on the street and they scream it, you're like, all right, that's regular. If they are singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, because the album had just come out, if they're singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, get away. And so he was like, I gotta do something. Got to do something. And the thing that he decided to do was we both got a text from our mutual friend that it would be quicker for us to meet him where he was than wait for him to come back and us head out together. And so we decided to head out together. And while I'm in the hallway, it's a long hallway from the dorm room to the end of the suite. And when I'm in the hallway, I go, ah. And he says, what? And I'm like, I think a mosquito bit me. And I was being completely sincere in this moment. I started itching. I was like, what? And he's like, what happened? I think a mosquito bit me. And then he stands extra tall, every bit of 6'5", lets his eyes dart around the hallway and goes, you hurt my friend. And then he punched the wall as hard as he could. And when he moved his fist from the wall, there was a dead mosquito. And I was like, oh Lord, he big and crazy. Oh, I'm sick. Oh. And then we became best friends. We became best friends because we got to know each other. We got to know each other, and I got to know him as a whole person. I got to know how cool he was, how sincere he is, that he would do anything for his friends, including that mosquito thing. And he got to know me, and he still liked me. So we became best friends because I got to see like the whole person, you know? And then finally one day I told him about it. I was like, hey, freshman year, because when we were juniors, we became roommates. And I told him, like, hey, I just want to get something off my chest. Freshman year, when I was in the room with you and I just started singing. I was just trying to be crazy because I thought like you were real big and like, I don't know, I had been bullied a lot, so I was just trying to like keep you at bay. And he was like, oh, that's so good to know. Which means in the time that we had become friends, he still thought like, no, that's what he does though. Like that's who he is as a person. I was like, that's so good to know, because honestly, I was wondering what I'd have to do. I thought you were genuinely crazy. And that's why I punched that wall. When I moved my hand, I couldn't believe the mosquito had actually... It's wild stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's tough sometimes accepting that someone was like a whole person. Because it is easier. If someone sucks, it's easier to just, lean on exactly what you know, and that's enough for you, and they suck, and that's the end of it. It's not necessary in your mind to get down to the deeper root of the issue about why they might be the way they are. Whatever. They suck, and done talking about them. Like when I think about some of the most powerful people in the world, I think that way all the time. I forget that it's like a whole person because they suck. They suck so much. Like, I do my best to not be closed-minded about people. But the more I learn, the worse it gets. And no person is just one thing. Even monsters. Some monsters that get true crime documentaries made about them. They'll interview the kids. And sometimes the kids will be like, yeah, actually, he was like a super present father and everything. Like, it was kind of crazy. I know he killed all those people, but he came to all my soccer games. Like, it's a lot to process. Well, like, I don't know what makes a person. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what makes a person the way that they are. I just have guesses. Sometimes my guesses are good, and I get to have a conversation with the person and see that I was kind of close. And then sometimes my guesses are totally off base because I don't have their mind. I can't act like I know why someone is the way that they are. I know for certain because of the people that I've been around. I know that sometimes when you grow up with real money, real privilege, it can be very difficult unless you are like delusional enough to accept the position you're in as anything more than like the randomness of who is born to who. It's very difficult to feel like you've made or earned anything yourself. If you are just born into billions, you see that's one of the reasons these people have to like make their mark on the world to prove that they're not just like some accident. Because within those families sometimes, and like, look, I'm not acting like I know billionaires. I know millionaires. And it's a little similar, but at the same time, there are some millionaires that are barely millionaires, so they still acting like they're middle class. Even though they're millionaires, it's actually pretty sad. And then there are people that are like multimillionaires, and I don't even really know that many multimillionaires, but I know those people have at least accepted their position as people with like wealth and privilege, right? I don't know any billionaires. But I do know the people that I am friends with that work with like truly insane net worth individuals have said things like, at a certain amount of money, it's not even money anymore. It's just you moving your will throughout the world. And that is how people with that much money think. And so if you are like a child born into this thing, especially if you don't take to it the way that we imagine people will take to it, because remember, a person is a whole person, but a lot of people will have a kid and have an idea of a child before the child is ever there. And then that idea of a child is exactly what this whole person has to be, or else they're a disappointment, or else they're a failure, right? I had the idea of you before you were ever here. And the idea of you that I had was, we play these sports together. I teach you to do this thing. We go to these things. You love the stuff that I love. Those are the hopes of like every parent. Every parent wants to share the things they love with their kid. And hopefully the kid loves them too. Because as much as you love your sports team, as much as you love your favorite hobby, it'd be so much more enjoyable if the person you love the most loved it too. A lot of people have those hopes. That's common. That's normal. But this like world of wealth, they have an idea of maybe building a legacy, building an empire. And now whoever comes, whatever this child is, they will be someone who can uphold, build up, maintain the empire that I built. They're not having like a child. They're having a vessel to continue their wealth into the future. And that's got to be difficult to grow up in, because yes, you have all this money, you have all this privilege, you have access to all these different things, but there's a person looking at you like you don't even deserve to be here. And then there's everybody else that if you tried to tell them how it felt, they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't hear you through all that money. You know? Cry me a river. You ever felt a penny before? And so you see people really trying to exercise out all of this trauma in a way where they still move their will throughout the world. So then we become the collateral damage of them trying to exorcise demons, because they have the access to change the world the way that they see fit. And that leaves us in a very dangerous position. And I don't know exactly how to fix that, what to do about that, but I do know it presents itself in like little moments. Small moments where you can see, oh, this is like a kid. This is like a hurt kid. You know? Most powerful man in the world. Incredibly rich, billionaire. But this is a kid. This is a scared kid. This is a hurt kid. This is an angry kid. And I'm not saying that takes away all the damage, all the things that are being created by what this kid is doing. But like, I see you differently now. Like, in theory, I should be scared of you. I should be worried about what your next move is going to be. I should be worried if you're going to send someone to hurt me or my family, because you could do that. You're a very powerful person. But then things happen. And I see you react like a kid. And it's weird to see you as a whole person, you know? Like, I'm not going to, how do I put this? I could tell Trump was hurt by that South Park episode because the White House released a statement. There are school shootings where the White House doesn't release a statement. The White House released a statement. They were like, hey, look, South Park hadn't been relevant for a while now anyway. Nobody even watched. Ain't nobody crying. Nobody hurt. No. Like, I've watched, I watched Trump go to the Fed. He went to the Fed and he was with Jerome Powell. Now, Donald Trump put Jerome Powell in that position, all right? Donald Trump made Jerome Powell Fed chair, right? And now Donald Trump can't stand Jerome Powell and doesn't know who appointed him. And so he goes to the Fed. I guess they showing him where they make the money, shred the money. I don't know why he needed to go. He goes on a field trip to the Fed. You know, this is a very funny thing about Donald Trump. He has been very rich his entire life, but he still acts like new money. I have expected Trump to see the money being printed in front of him and go, but this dude he's at the Fed with Jerome Powell, and look, you can say numbers. You can say numbers in whatever order you want. No, you can say numbers and he can say more numbers. You can say numbers, that's your right to say numbers however you see fit. Whatever numbers you like, you can say them in 4, 3, 3, 4. You can do whatever you want. Numbers are there for you to play with. Numbers serve at your pleasure, right? Say whatever numbers you want in whatever order you want, whenever you want. That will not make it math. And so Trump is talking to the media, and he just like throwing out numbers. He's saying numbers, right? He's numbers, good numbers, and some bad numbers. Let's get those bad numbers out of there. Good numbers, more numbers, extra numbers, right? And quickly, almost immediately, Jerome Powell is standing off to the side, and he goes, oh no. Jerome Powell was shaking his head. You know those people who got like perfect pitch? Jerome Powell was shaking his head like somebody with perfect pitch going to karaoke. Like it's... And look, this is not something that happens often. No, Trump's used to talking, and when he talks, people either nod or they stay quiet. And we saw this in spectacular fashion in like 2020. Because he would stand up there, and then the people next to him, the people behind him, sometimes you catch them being like, huh? Like they were still trying to process what he said. But then he would just be talking. And sometimes he'd even turn to them, look for some confirmation. What do you think about that? And then they would be like, we'll have to check. I've never had the taste of bleach in my mouth, but... I suppose anything's possible. These experts, these doctors, these people, they weren't doing the thing that they should have been doing, which was Because he didn't just shake his head. He said it. He said it out loud. No, no, no. No, no. No, no. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position if more people, and I'm not even talking about politicians right now, I mean more people who have to deal with government had the courage to say, no, no, that's not how medicine works, no, that's not science, no, that's not English, no, no. Simple no is powerful, you know? And so sure enough, Trump hates Jerome Powell. Trump hates Jerome. Oh, he hates Jerome. Oh. Trump hates Jerome. Trump hates Jerome. Like, let Jerome. Trump hates Jerome Powell, so he hate him so good. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much, he did something he never does. He did something we haven't seen him do. Either time he's been president, he did something I didn't even think he was capable to do. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much. Through his teeth, he hate him. He hate him so much that Donald Trump did homework. Because he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, he was saying the numbers. And then Jerome Powell went, no, no, no. And even Tim Scott was next to Trump, nodding and saying yes, while he was saying no. Yes, with those big teeth, saying yes, 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 swinging those teeth, yes, yes. But Donald Trump heard Jerome Powell's no, and it was almost like he had practiced this. He was ready. He hates Jerome Powell so much. Ooh, he hates. Ooh, he hate him. And so he goes, huh? What? No. Oh, well, I have the paper right here. And then Donald Trump pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Jerome Powell like it was checkmate. I had never seen this man prepared in his life. Usually, when Trump has a chart or a piece of paper, it's because he already has a point he's trying to make and he's just using that to illustrate. Trump has never had a Trump card. Man pulled out the piece of paper. You could see even Jerome was surprised. He was like, paper? Reading? You saw Jerome. Jerome had to break out the glasses for it. He was like, oh. And because numbers are numbers, because math is at least something that, even if you have bias, even if you have an intention towards an intended goal, the math will still make sense or not make sense. Something will be true or not true, right? And so even Jerome Powell, I'm not saying I know this man. I'm not saying he's infallible. But in this moment, I'm thinking maybe he's even thinking, whoa, what if I'm wrong here? What if there's something I don't know about? The president just pulled a piece of paper out as soon as I started saying no, like he rehearsed this. So he takes the piece of paper, throws the glasses on, and you can see him reading it. You can watch the clip. And he goes, no, this old, no.
Okay, one time when I worked at Trader Joe's, this is so wild because I also avoid people who are openly angry in a way that is It's one thing if I watch something happen to them and they're angry, right? So like if I watch someone get kicked out of a place or something and they're angry about it, I know why you're angry, I think. So now if you happen to look at me or engage with me, I can talk to you, right?
Right, yeah.
When I have no idea what you're upset about and I don't know you, I also steer clear. Because one time back when I was working,
you're a potential threat to my day now.
Yeah, because I was working at Trader Joe's, right?
Yeah.
And this is the Trader Joe's in New York. So I'd been in New York for like maybe 3 months. So I just moved here, right? Mm-hmm. This guy is in the fresh produce area, but I call it the fruit aisle just to like keep it clear, right?
Right.
So he was pulling one of the plastic bags that you pull when you want to put a bunch of apples in it or just a bunch of the loose fruits together. He was pulling one of those, and the little seam that's supposed to catch the clip to break, it must have missed, so he pulled way too much, right?
Okay.
This is where
we've all been there. This is very common thing.
Yeah, this is where things go off the rails. So then like
everything I've said up till now, normal.
Yeah, like you've said, this happens to everybody, right?
Happens to everybody. It's very common.
This dude pulls.
Happened to me the other day.
The rest of his arm comes down from him pulling, and he loses his mind. Okay.
Ooh.
This dude
just got fired.
Yeah. This
like
dude,
something happened before the store.
It was to the point where I was wondering if he worked at Trader Joe's and then got fired the day before, and I just never met him. That's how mad he got. So he pulls it, right?
Yeah.
As he's pulling, his arm goes down the rest of the way. So now he's got like 9 bags that he's pulled. Okay. And
he's like, I don't want this many lemons.
And then he drops the end one and then just tries again and then pulls another bunch instead of just breaking the one that he had in his hand. But now,
how is that the solution?
I have no idea, but you don't think clearly when you're angry because he's visibly angry now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so then he pulls again, and now there's like at least 20 bags that have been pulled out of this roll, and there's bags that are like there's bags that are like on the floor now, all still connected, like a whole roll of toilet paper unrolled, right? And so it's just these green bags. And so now instead of trying to pull again or break any of them, he just punches an orange. Okay? This dude punches an orange. And I think that once you break the seal on your personal level of anger, I
thought you were going to say on an orange.
No. Yeah, when you break the seal on an orange, all hell breaks loose.
There's no turning back.
Once you break the seal on, just your level of anger, I think a lot of people, that's where you find out who someone is, because I think a lot of people either decide, hey, this is where I should check myself, or I'm too far gone and I'm just going to hit the gas.
Yeah.
In a fight, in an argument, there's a level, there's a ceiling that people have. And once you go past that, that's who you find out who's like, quote unquote, crazy, who you find out is like a fighter, who you find out is a crier, like all that stuff. Because that's the moment where you realize you're angry and you either start to see red or you start to calm down, right?
Well, yeah, the emotion takes over and you're in like a free fall now. Exactly.
Yeah. And so this dude punches the orange, and I think for him, clearly punching oranges is cracking the ceiling. Cause then this dude still with the green bag string in his hand, the strip of green bags, just keeps punching oranges, right? And so then he starts screaming. He's like, oh, like, and it's not a scream that's like to get attention. It's a guttural low scream, right? Like he's essentially just being like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Punching. The noise of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
punching oranges, orange juice going, right? Like this dude is getting orange juice all over his face. And I've never been so scared of orange juice because he had just enough of it on his face to look like blood. Like,
Right.
like you knew if he had been punching a person, his face would just be covered, right?
Yeah.
And then
I want a glass of fresh punched orange juice, please.
and then so he must have punched like 8 oranges, right? And they're layered on the on these like little cabinets because the display is wooden. So it's not like he's punching a stack of oranges like you'd see at Walmart that are tilted. He's punching like a stack of oranges that are on this wooden cabinet, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why he's making so much juice, is because there's nowhere for the oranges to go.
There's no escape for these oranges.
There's no escape for these oranges. So anyway, after he punches the 8th orange, he tries to storm off. And as he's like turning around, in his punching, he's just got the bags wrapped around his arm. So now he tries to walk away and he's just pulling more rolled bags like toilet paper.
Oh no.
And that dude walked out of the store with like maybe 100 bags trailing him.
That's all you can do, I think. You can't finish shopping. You can't just...
That dude left sticky.
Yeah. I was going to say, now he's sticky and covered in plastic. But yeah, you can't do that and then just look down at your list, cross off oranges, and then move on to the next thing.
It'd be so funny if he didn't want oranges. He just want plums, but then bow, 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 bow.
Like, and I get it too. When you're angry, you don't think clearly. You just get frustrated. But just tear the bags, dude. Like, just at any point, tear the bags. Even if you got a couple, and I know you don't need a couple, but don't just keep pulling. Where's he thinking like, oh, this is just one really long bag? Like, what did he think was happening?
I would have loved to have a conversation with him or be in his head because...
I mean, be in his head. You don't want to talk to him.
Because, well, no, just later in life. Like today. This was years ago. So I think I could talk about... I think maybe he's over it by now, right?
Yeah.
And I'd love to like... Because you know how...
Or he's still serving time for it.
Yeah, I'd hate to be the person who ran into him on the street and just be like, hey, buddy, are you all right? And he just starts swinging, right? You can't tell why his punches are so tasty, you know?
Why are your fists so sweet?
Yeah, this dude assault is delicious. He'd have beat the hell out of you and you're like, what was a little hint of Florida.
Such citrusy violence. I can tell I'm being hurt, but I think I'm also getting vitamins.
Yeah. At least this dude smells good, right?
Yeah, he punched a cold right out of me.
Emergency be damned. The whole reason I brought this up, the last thing that I added that I've never done before in life, but I'm making a point to do it now, is to be fully, like when I say fully, I mean like at the scientific limits of fully hydrated, right? I've never even attempted this in my life before, but this is insane. It's
buckle
too
up
much
for another
water.
Adventure, gang. Joshy gets wet. Here we are.
It's so much water, dude. It's like,
yeah, when you actually like make sure you drink the recommended amount, it is a lot.
well, this is what's actually crazy about it. I don't know if you already knew this, but the amount of water that you should be drinking to lose weight and the amount of water that you should be drinking to build muscle are like almost identical, and it's a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mind blowing to me, though.
I mean, I've heard several different like amounts of what you should like drink in a day, but also it does kind of change depending on what you do in a day a little bit.
Yeah, like I checked because here's the thing: I was so scared giving myself water poisoning, that I checked every type of way to, do the math on how, just on how much I should
Is it
be.
technically called water poisoning?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have so much water that your kidneys don't know what to do with it. So that your kidneys
Right.
literally just start giving it away.
Because that's what happened isn't that what happened to that lady in that radio contest thing? This is like 5 years ago or whatever. Did you remember hearing about this?
No, I don't remember this at all.
It was in like Australia. It was a big story because it was like a morning radio show, and then the competition was like they had people come in. It was to win tickets to something or some shit, and they had them like drink as much water as they could, and then it was like whoever could hold it the longest or whatever, like go into the bathroom, like whoever could hold it the longest, and then like this lady, like her kidneys shut down and she died because of a fucking radio competition.
You would like to think that your bladder isn't more powerful than common sense. Like, I'd like to think my bladder couldn't will me dead.
Right.
One thing that is very fun about being in Pittsburgh is your sort of singleness in fandom. The way that you love the Steelers, right? The way that you, yeah. And I saw this story about a woman whose husband sadly passed, and to commemorate him, she kept his Steelers tattoo. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because initially when I saw it, I was like, what? Yeah, no, kept the Steelers tattoo and it's like in a little. And then in the article, she was like, yes, we kept the tattoo. No, we don't think it's weird. And I was like, I figured you didn't think it was weird. Seems like it was your idea. That would be wild if you were sitting there holding the plaque like, I can't believe they let us do this. This is... little odd, right? And look, I don't know. Wow. Like when I saw it, I was like, because also, look, I'm not going to linger on it too long, but it was a big tattoo, so I don't even know what that is. That back? Is that arm? Is that, you know what I mean? And maybe this is something that the husband would have loved. Maybe he's like, yeah, keep it, put it in the living room, right? I don't know. I also don't know how hauntings work, but I imagine I do imagine having some of my skin means I'm gonna stop by. If anybody ever kept some of my neck, I think I'd be like, we have to have a discussion. Poltergeist or not, I'm coming over, we're talking about it. You know, you already have to be careful in people's houses because you never know who got the urn on the mantle or something like that. I don't know why they don't sell urns with like a lock on it. Every urn I've ever come across just been ready to be opened like a cup of sugar. We gotta start making urns harder to spill. You know what I mean?
I've been at people's houses where they got, whether it's like a family member or the pet, they got the urn on like a mantle or a bookshelf, and I'm like, that's a little high. If it falls, they will be everywhere. And it does sort of, I don't know. It does taint the memory a little bit if this urn fall and now you gotta Dyson him up. And then put him back in a new urn with whatever was on the carpet. Just something to think about, baby. I don't, literally, just even McDonald's cups are harder to spill. Just something with a twist lock, something. Because let's be honest, unless you spread the ashes, you never need the ashes. You know? It's not like you hiding something in the ashes and then you're gonna open up the urn, pull out the Glock. Like that'd be a wild home invasion. That'd be a wild, imagine you're, let's say somebody, goodness forbid, but let's say somebody broke in your house or something like that, and then they've got you and the family held hostage, and maybe you did something to them. Maybe you're a healthcare CEO, right? And so then they got you tied up with your family and everything, and it's like, look, I'm sorry, all right? And they're like, sorry is not enough, you about to go. It's like, okay. All right, I get that, but okay. But a long time ago, my wife passed, and I always said that, like, whenever I go, I'd like to go with her, and she's right there. Intruder gonna be like, over there? Yeah, she's on the fourth shelf. Fourth shelf next to Great Expectations. If I could just like hold her, I'll just, small kindness, let me hold her while you bow. The intruder's like, okay, go ahead. Go get her. Thanks, honey. No, it's wild. Because now that mantle it's like in a frame. And I guess they're gonna put it on the wall. That seemed just as precarious as any urn. Imagine you having a house party. And somebody bumped the frame, it fall. Now you getting yelled at. You knocked over daddy. Everybody does things differently, and some people very differently. But once again, I don't know.
if he would have loved this sort of thing, you know? But it'd be crazy to think he might be looking down like, ugh. But in case he loves this sort of thing, and in case he can hear us on 3, I'd love all of you to join me in a Go Steelers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully that will stop me from being haunted. In my life, I've had a lot of roommates, and it's funny because, like, I don't know, I've talked about this before, but like, roommates is like extra family because you're poor. You don't exactly bunk up with a stranger because things are going well. Every roommate I've ever had has been out of necessity. And you just gotta get used to it. But it's crazy because people, the way that people are roommates is usually a clue into how they lived before, like how they were raised potentially. Maybe they were raised to act differently than they're acting as roommates, and this is them out on their own for the first time, rebelling against all these rules they had at home when they were, younger. That's the most charitable way to put it. Like, I think mostly a lot of people are insane. And there's nothing like having like a messy or lunatic roommate, and then maybe you do become friends though. Maybe you're friends, maybe you're friendly. And then you go visit them at their house and you see that it's pretty much the same. This person is wild through and through. I had a roommate that, there would be some nights where he would sleep in the bathtub. He had a bed, he had a mattress, he had pillows. But he said he would sleep in the bathtub because it felt more normal to him when he would wake up from a night terror. And I was like, I don't know how you find that out. That means this man had night terrors and tried every room before he went tub. And that was a tough roommate to have because, I would go to bed at a regular time, even a little late because, we're young and everything. We're in college, and then I would just know I can't go to the bathroom for the rest of the night. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to hold it until he wakes up. And what would normally be distressing, sleeping peacefully, and then hearing from the bathroom, is only made a relief because then I know, okay, he's up, I can go. A lot of people in America worry about terrorism. Is a This is a top concern for some people, and it just depends, mostly, to me at least, on when you were born, you know? And I think that within this understanding of terrorism, there are many different definitions, you know? One definition is someone who stokes fear and anxiety for the purpose of fear and anxiety in their enemies. And there's a lot of talk of terrorism or potential terrorism. People get called terrorists all the time, and there are some people that want to equate terrorism to one specific group, one specific religion. But I know that there are terrorists, but the terrorists that I'm talking about, they have no religion. The terrorists that I'm talking about, the terrorists that I believe already live in the U.S., they don't have some God that they call to for their purpose of doing what they do. They just do it to stoke fear and anxiety. I'm talking about people who put an empty box of cereal back on the shelf. These people have no place in our society, all right? I had a roommate. Last straw for me was this man. I had bought some Cheerios, and I bought it for the group. We all eating out here. And so then I go to grab the Cheerios, and I'm excited, I'm hungry. And I go to grab the Cheerios, and there's a certain feeling. Anyone who's been a victim of what I'm talking about will know the feeling. It is a weightlessness of despair. You go to grab what you think might even be a half full box of cereal, and in your attempt to grab it, you put too much energy, too much force into your shoulder, into your arm, into your hand. And when you put that force into your shoulder and your arm and your hand, and you grab the box of cereal and you go to lift it up, you hit the top of the cabinet. Because there's nothing in there. And not only is there nothing in there, what's been left is crumbs. And the sound of crumbs is the jingle bells of poverty, all right? I've never felt poorer than when I hear crumbs. Hearing crumbs is right out of Oliver Twist. Crumbs is what Charles Dickens wrote all his best work to. I didn't even think I could hear crumbs. But they have a sound. It's a mix between bread particles bouncing off each other and then a whisper. It's in a moment. It's something that almost can't be identified. And it's the whisper of those crumbs, the same way that you could split atoms or you could collide particles and make an entire boom, a bang, a nuclear bomb, and a hydrogen bomb. The banging together of these bread particles makes one singular noise, and it is the universe telling you from a point of almost quantum physics, bouncing the particles off each other, that you're poor. That's the sound of poor. Wouldn't you love to say yum? You'll never say it. You're too poor. These are crumbs. If you've ever in your life, out of necessity, not out of deliciousness, had to pour crumbs into your mouth, only in the Bible do I imagine this level of thirst for food. You might as well be in the desert. Even if you are in your Pittsburgh apartment, you might as well be in the desert if you are opening your mouth, letting it hang while an entire bag while a bag of crumbs slides and floats to your mouth. Because the crumbs that are sliding into your mouth from this bag, they have no Christianity. These crumbs are there to embarrass you. They're there to make you look and feel poor while you pour them into your mouth. Maybe that's where we get the word poor from. And maybe that's where we get the other word poor from, because you have to pour these into your mouth while you feel like the poorest person that has ever lived. And the bag is stiff because it's that hard, semi-soft plastic that they only make cereal bags out of. And because of that, it's got a lot of ridges. It's got a lot of things that the crumbs can slide and get caught up on, you know? It's a lot like when you try to get water to a new place and the water is working its way through the canyon, but it doesn't know where to go yet. It's being pushed by the other water. And this gravity that's pulling down the crumbs to your mouth has the crumbs rushing at you from all angles. Even when you try to pinch the bag, you try to pinch the bag to give yourself some dignity. You try to pinch it and straighten it up to make a funnel for your mouth, because this is all you have. Crumbs is all you have. Crumbs is your life. And so you make it as straight as possible. You slide it down. Only when you are making a paper plane do you have this level of intent as you straighten something out. You straighten it out as much as possible, and then you dip it into your mouth, and still the ridges find a way. Because the devil is busy. Oh, the devil is hard at work trying to make you look and feel poor, even if you're alone in the room. You pour the crumbs, they're rushing from all angles, skiing down the plastic to your mouth. But then something happens. You don't know if it's in the middle of the bag or it's at the very edge, because some bags, depending on what cereal you get, have smooth tops and some have ridged tops, okay? That's going to be important, because if it's a smooth top, the crumbs will slide out. If there's ridges right at the top, that means that the crumbs have one last giddy up before they get to your mouth. And so then not only do they giddy up, but you are looking for the food. You'd at least like to see what you're eating. And so you're looking down the bag, and the crumbs are like, we can go anywhere. We could go in your mouth. We could go up your nose, but we love to go in your eyes. And so then you're standing there with crumbs in your mouth and in your eyes and down your face and down your shirt, because as soon as they got in your eyes, they stung, because crumbs are sharp. You might as well juggle knives over your open eyes. You know what that feels like? To be You know what that feels like, to have to dig Cinnamon Toast Crunch out your eyes? Every cereal sharp. Every cereal is sharp. And so I remember I was a victim of terrorism. And I took my crumbs like a man. But then I confronted my roommate. I said, hey, I know what you did. You know what you did. I don't know why you did it. I feel like I've been very respectful. I feel like we have a good rapport. I don't know why you would engage in such a vicious attack against my Saturday. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what? Because he did know what. Because without me saying anything else, he was like, look. I put it back, but there was some in there. And I said, some crumbs? He's like, no, there was Cheerios in there. And then I thought, okay, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have accused the wrong roommate. Because I have more than one. And so then I walked to the kitchen with him because the bag and the box were laying on the ground because I obviously had to run to the bathroom and wash my eyes out of the very sharp cereal. And at this time, first of all, I need to go back. This is the second time this had happened. All right. And so first time was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And then the next time it was Cheerios. That's my mistake. And so then he was like, there was some in there. And then we walk over and the bag and the box are strewn on the floor like a crime scene. Because I had to drop them immediately. I also got Cheerio in my eye. And I was like, there was nothing. And you know there was nothing because it was only crumbs. And now the crumbs are in me and on me. And then he's like, no, there was something left. I was like, what left? And he was like, there was one Cheerio. And I was like, now I know. You might as well be Osama bin Laden, because the fact that there was one Cheerio you chose to not eat and leave means you're out of your mind. And then I looked, and sure enough, there was one Cheerio on the ground. One Cheerio. A single Cheerio. Like a British person saying goodbye. Obviously, I didn't kill him. I'm here with you now, but I thought about it. I struggled a lot, growing up, even into like early adulthood, with opinion of myself, with like body image and everything. It's very difficult sometimes for any young person to believe, if they don't already believe, that they are lovable or that they are good in just the way that they are. Basically, that they are enough. You're still working on yourself. There's still things you want to do with your life. You got your whole life ahead of you, but there's nothing extra you have to do to be worth anything, And it's a hard thing to convince someone of who doesn't believe it. I wish more people believed it. If you saw yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a beautiful world that would be, And it's not as if love isn't poured into and on these people, showered with praise when something goes right. Not everyone gets it, but even for the people that do, they still struggle with body image. They still struggle with confidence. And then for the people who should have people that they look up to, maybe not giving them any of that, either being indifferent to them or actively hurting their confidence. Sometimes even when you have those positive forces in your life, you still don't accept it in a way that would help boost your confidence. You're like, she loves me, but that's like my mom. She biased. And I know for me, I spent a ton of time trying to work on myself in different ways. Some things that I actually needed, some things that built me up, and some things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary, you know? I really struggled to look at myself in any positive way until I got really fit. Like in my head, really fit. I should look like I saw other guys and I thought I should look like that. I should look like a version of that at least, you know? And never mind that I'm looking at dudes who have been on their own journey or struggle with their own confidence, or maybe get a little extra help to look the way that they look. I don't know. And I was never trying to be like insanely huge. I joke about being like ripped and real big, but honestly, I don't have the frame for it. Truly, I'm not tall enough to be wide. Yeah, I mean, no matter how big my shoulders got, I'd start to just be in the way. Like it looks good in the picture when you're flexing and you've got all the muscles and they're all defined and everything, but then practically in life, it does start to be a problem when you're trying to walk through a door. You don't want to be on a date and see a door and go, uh-oh. How do we handle this? You know, because the shoulders, the hips, they're all wide and muscular, but that door frame, oof, making all of them standard. I can't believe they're doing this. And then you're holding hands, you get to the door, and you're like, you first. You look like you being a gentleman, you know. Please go ahead. And then she walks through the door with ease, and you now have to figure something out. You're standing on the opposite side of the door, and you're like, oh, okay. As soon as you strained, you let her know this isn't going to be the life for her. I never wanted to be huge. I just wanted to be very, very fit, you know? And I worked on it with some success, with less success. But even when I started to work out, I realized that wasn't really the issue. Now I was going to the gym and I was eating as much as possible and I was gaining a little bit of weight. Not much. And I was like fighting to keep looking this certain way. And I finally accepted that, like, even if I got there, maybe I wouldn't be happy. And I even discovered that through other people who I knew were there. People who I wanted to look like that were in my life, you know? And they still had all the same problems I did. And I would go to the gym and I'd see people packed in there fighting to look a certain way so they could feel a certain way. And there is a bit of a cheat code. You could try to work on feeling the way without having to fully change your entire body. You know, you don't have to earn loving yourself through like straining and potentially hurting yourself, you know? Like there's some things that there's some things that go and be lifted in therapy, you know? Like it's just and but I remember I would see these workouts, and sometimes you see people get creative. There are a couple machines that are pretty straightforward. You sit down, you want to row, you put your feet here, and you pull. And that's the exercise right here. This is just what you do, and you do it for your back. You know, you work a little biceps in there too, and maybe if you're trying to work more of the back. You can lean forward a little, lean back a little with the pull, you know. I saw a guy sit down like normal and then put his feet in. And I'm not gonna lie, I stopped. I was like, this is about to be awesome. This man, I don't know what muscle it works out. It seems like it just ruins your joints, but he went, just make sure it's clear. And it looked like it felt like it sounded. This man did 8 sets of 10. And I watched the whole thing. Oh, there was even a time where I went to the gym and, you know, I was working out my legs differently. You know, I was doing some lunges, I was doing some like split squats and everything. Not much weight, but just trying to make sure that I worked out my legs, because there are some people that in all that self-consciousness and all of that wanting to build up for yourself, your body and your image, they still only work on the glamour muscles. They forget the base. They forget their core sometimes, and they definitely forget their legs. And we've been told since we were children that the legs are important. We've been told in many different ways. We've been told by PE teachers. We've been told by coaches. We've been told by parents. We've been told by cartoons. There's an entire cartoon dedicated to people who skip leg day. Johnny Bravo was trying to warn us for our entire childhood how important leg day is. That's not a structure you want. You don't want to have more hair than... So I was working out my legs, and so I'm packed into this gym with a bunch of other people, which is, look, it's very frustrating because this gym was unfortunately affordable. So a lot of people were in there, you know, and I was one of them. And I was hopeful, you know, sometimes they sell memberships all year and they're counting on people not to go. The way the gym structures are built out, it's so that you get all of these people here, but they're signed up, they don't actually show up. And so a gym is able to run fairly efficiently as long as like 1/10 of the people who are members show up at a time. If everybody showed up that was a member of the gym, if everybody started to really decide to work on themselves, it would look a lot like TSA. Be very little movement. The only way to work out would be passing the weights, just you can have some. And while I was in the gym packed in there with everybody else. There was a fire alarm that went off and some smoke that we saw. And, I didn't see any fire, but 2 out of 3 signs isn't bad. And so there were only 2 exits, which in retrospect was a horrible thing. Like you could only get out through the elevator, which you're not going to take during a fire, or the stairs. And so people started clamoring for the stairs. And this is where the real fitness test began. Because there were some people that were out in a flash, but then there were other people who had been working out. So they used all their fire running strength on the treadmill. So now they see that the fire alarm is going off and there's smoke, and they hop off the treadmill and they're like, oh no. And then there were other people, what I would assume people who were a bit out of their mind, that even treated the running out of the gym like a workout. There was one lady literally still looking at her watch going, and then there was me, who had been doing leg day. Tried to make my way out as fast as I could, but honestly, if I could brag on myself for a second, I had gone pretty hard. I had a PR and everything, and a PR is what you don't want to have when it's time to run. Because I put the weight down, I saw everybody running out, and I made my way for the exit, and I could not stop jiggling. Like every... And yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have to evacuate for a fire, but nobody moves like there's a fire. Even as you're going downstairs to get out of the building that has smoke in it, that is clearly, at least seemingly, on fire, you still get people that do that thing that people do when they get to the top of the stairs, where now that they're clear, they just enjoy their day. If you've ever been in a walkway, there are people who can't wait. At the beginning of the stairs, they can't wait to get up there. And then as soon as they get up there, as soon as they are past the last step, they're like, yes. As if there's not a ton of people behind them. And so I'm noticing, as I'm shaking and jiggling down the steps, how slow people are going down the steps. And so people do start to scream like, hey, hurry, move it, fire. And then we get outside, and it was next to the door. One of the reasons everybody was slowing up was that same lady was out front near the door, just next to the door. Just run, run. You still got the rest of the world to run. What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for your gym buddy, you left him. You left him to die. It's funny because I was watching the news and I saw this, can't really call it a debate. It was more of a screaming match. But it was on CNN. And on CNN, okay. Found the one person that works at CNN. That's bad. I've never heard anybody clap for CNN like that. Yeah. Why is that? Now, to be fair, though, look, to be fair,
we don't know where our friend is from, and CNN abroad is actually substantially better. Like, when you watch CNN and you're in like France or something, it is actually like engaging programming. That we really are the only ones that do CNN the way we do CNN. I like, as an example, when you travel the world, McDonald's is still fast food. We're the only ones that made it poison. You know, every other country, they just say what happened on the news. They just tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, then these people came, and then the other people came, and then the first people left, and then the second group of people left. It's really mostly in the US where you watch news and it's like, chaos in the streets! Like every news segment is cutting a promo for a horror movie. Oh, I was watching CNN and I saw where Jillian Michaels was on there in a debate that she seemed to have started, and they were talking about changes to the Smithsonian and how art and culture shifts between who has the power to dictate how the exhibits are written, who the exhibits are of, and everything. And Jillian Michaels was like, it's so unfair that slavery in this country only gets blamed on one race. Look, as outrageous as that is genuinely funny. Like, look, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to feel, but if you heard the words I said, that Jillian said, and you immediately got angry, I would ask you to take a step back. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. You can be angry if you want to be angry, because it is a very short-sighted, ignorant thing to say, but that's precisely why it's so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But the best way I can describe why this is funny is when I was a kid, I would I would be at home alone for about 3 hours. I would get off, from school. I would do practice, and then I would get home and I'd be alone for about 3 hours, right? So for 3 hours, I was the only person in the house. And one day, I was just walking through the house. I was eating something. I think I was like eating some Easy Mac and walking, not paying attention where I was going. And I knocked over this vase. And it was a vase that my mom loved, right? And so it smashes on the ground. And I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I was like, man, I'm going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I need to think of something. And in my head, I was like, what should I do? Should I call my mom now and be like, hey, when you get home, you will want to beat me. But I feel like if I tell you now and you're going to be like on shift for another half hour, and then just the concern, because I never call you, I'm hoping the concern that you have that I am calling you you'll be so relieved that I'm alive, that I'm not dead, you'll want to kill me less. You know, because having that coworker be like, it's your son, you know what I mean? And then have you be like, oh, what, my baby? And then I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then you're like, oh, I'm just so glad you're still with us that I would hate to make it so you were not, right? That was one thought. Then the other thought was, look, I've given this whole having a family thing a good run. Maybe I dip right now. Maybe I leave home right now. And then the third thing, which is what I did do, was nothing. I went to my room and played some video games for what felt like might be the last time in a long time. then my mom got home. I remember all the noises of her getting home. I remember the like screen door, and then the lock, and then the lock turning, and then the deadbolt turning, and then her walking in, the screen door shutting behind her, her shutting the door, her locking the door and the deadbolt. Again, every footstep from the front door to the kitchen, because she missed it at first. And then every footstep after the kitchen back into the living room where I heard my name. And not my name the way you know it, my full legal name. You know what they put on your death certificate or before a parent kills you? My full legal name. And then I walk in and my mom is like, what happened? What is this? And then I said, oh, you just gonna blame it on me? Wow, wow. Maybe I was in there playing video games the entire time. Maybe somebody broke it and left. Maybe I'm lucky to be alive right now. You're just gonna immediately blame me because I was the only one here. You're just gonna blame me because it looks like it was me. And that's kind of what Jillian Michaels was doing with the whole, like... Yeah, that's kind of what she was doing. Can't believe you would just blame it on one race of people. And it's so funny too, because when it comes to history like that, there are always these bad actors that try to pull the thinnest straw man out of the woodwork. You know, there'll always be that person. There was a guy, I don't actually remember his name, and this is before slavery in the U.S. was more based on race and before more people were shipped to the U.S. There was a dude that I've read about that apparently was of African descent, and he came over and he had about 2 or 3 slaves, and one of those slaves was seemingly of the Caucasian persuasion. And whether this thing is true or a myth, I've heard it my entire life when referencing slavery, that there was one black guy who had a white slave. And I'm like, look, even if that's true, that's not what it's known for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just picking and choosing how you present an entire idea. And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that's who she is, that coach from The Biggest Loser. You know, the nice one. The Biggest Loser was a show, I don't think it's still on the air anymore, so if you're not familiar with the show, it was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do slavery.